Hello, YouTube divers. This is Water Dive 122, and I want to welcome you all to another episode of Magic Metal Mondays. So today we are going to be doing another album review. We're getting back into that field, and we're going to be tackling another Sonata Arctica album, and we're going to be talking about their 2003 album, Winterheart's Guild. This is their third studio album, and the last album to feature Tony Kakko not only doing lead vocals but also doing rhythmic keyboard work. As on the following album, Reckoning Night, Henry Klickenberg, their current keyboard player, would join the band. So with this album, it's kind of infamous in my channel's history because a year and a half ago, I did a Sonata Arctica album ranking, and I placed Winterheart's Guild at number 9, because at the time of the video, it was 10 records. But it was made before Clear Cold Beyond came out. But now that Clear Cold Beyond is out, I will probably do a re-ranking of Sonata Arctica's albums at some point to include Clear Cold Beyond, and who knows, Winterheart's Guild might like Winterheart's Guild might move up in my rankings. But we're going to actually talk about the album in its entirety. So, spoiler alert, my opinions on this album have changed drastically since that original Sonata Arctica album ranking. So, we're going to go ahead and get started. So the lineup of this record has pretty much been the same lineup as as Sonata Arctica's first two albums. You have Tony Kakko on vocals and keyboards. He's also their lead songwriter and lyricist. You have Johnny Lee Matanen on the guitars. You have Marco Pasakowski on the bass. And then you have Tommy Portimo on drums. But what makes Winterheart's Guild a little bit different is that you have, on 4 of the tracks on this record, you have keyboard solo contributions by the legendary Jens Johansson, who has been on so many different projects, probably most famously on Stradivarius, a fellow Finnish Power Metal band. So what we have here, we have 10 tracks, and we're going to go through every single one of them. I'm not including the bonus track Draw Me, but who knows, maybe I'll touch on it in another video. So without further ado, let's get started. So the opening track is Abandoned, Pleased, Brainwashed, Exploited. And right off the bat, this is a fantastic power metal song. This is definitely one of my favorite tracks from Sonata Arctica. It always has been one of my favorite tracks from this record in particular. It's got a great melody, great atmosphere, great harmonies. One thing I really do like and dislike about Winterheart's Guild is its vocal layerings. On some tracks it works, and some it doesn't work. And we're going to get further into that in the review. But on Abandoned, Pleased, Brainwashed, Exploited, it is one of those cases where it does work for me. The harmonies work really, really well on here. There's great melodies through and through. I especially love that pre-chorus. So yeah, Abandoned, Pleased, Brainwashed, Exploited, definitely one of the best tracks from classic Sonata Arctica. And then we move on to another great track, Graven Image, which took me a little bit to get into, and that's one thing that affected Winterheart's Guild's rankings on my original Sonata Arctica ranking video. It was, a lot of the songs just felt very overproduced and very, like, too much was happening at one time, if that makes sense. And Graven Image was one of those tracks, but now I really love this track. It's definitely one of my favorite tracks on this record. Same can be said with the following song, The Cage. The Cage is definitely a very good power metal song. And it's one of the 4 tracks that has keyboard solos from Jens Johansson. So there's that. And again, it was a song that I didn't really care much about on my first few listens on Winterheart's Guild. But over time, I've grown to absolutely love this song. It's great. And then you have the weakest track on the record, which is, in my opinion, Silver Tongue. I am not a fan of this track. This is one of those. This is probably the best example of all the vocal layerings and how it doesn't work for me. It's just way too dominant in the mix, and to me it just takes away from everything else that's happening on the track. Um, it's very overproduced. It's very bombastic. It just doesn't really fit with this record for me, and it was really another one of those factors that affected Winterheart's Guild's overall rankings back on my original ranking video. So I'm still not a huge fan of Silver Tongue, but the keyboard solo by Jens Johansson is pretty good. So yeah, Silver Tongue comes in here. And we're moving on to the next track, which is a ballad. It's called The Misery. And I'm not really sure how I feel about this song. On one hand, I do like its atmosphere. It's very dark and it's very haunting and very depressing, which is what I think Tony Kakko was going for here. But overall, I just think he's written better ballads for Sonata Arctica. I mean, Letter to Dana and yeah, Letter to Dana alone and Shy from the Takatavi EP. Both of them just absolutely smoked The Misery, in my opinion. But yeah, Misery, not terrible, but not one of my favorites. Now, that said, the following track, Victoria's Secret, is my favorite song from the record. And definitely one of my favorite Sonata Arctica songs in general. It and Abandoned Please, Brainwashed, Exploited. Both of these are like the true standout tracks from this record for me. And Victoria's Secret especially, like I really love that cold, icy vibe and atmosphere throughout the entire cut. It really takes me back to the Ecliptica days, as well as a little bit of Silence mixed in. It's a great power metal song. And it's definitely one of their overplayed songs. It's a fan favorite, and they keep playing it live. So yeah, Victoria's Secret, another great song, and another great keyboard solo contribution from Mr. Jens Johansson. So there we go. And then we get to another average song, which is Champagne Bath. I know a lot of Sonata Arctica fans love this song, but I personally do not get it. I don't think it's terrible, but much like The Misery, this song, they've written better power metal songs. I mean, come on, just on this record alone with The Cage and Abandoned Please, Brainwash, Exploited, and Victoria's Secret, I would much rather listen to those three songs than Champagne Bath. I'm sorry, but yeah, Champagne Bath, I'm just not a huge fan of this song. But again, it definitely helps that it has another great keyboard solo from Mr. Jens Johansson. This would be the final cut on this record to feature his keyboard solos. Great keyboard player. All right, and then we get to the final three tracks, which are all great tracks. You have Broken, which is a great little power ballad-esque song. And it's another fan favorite. They keep playing this one live, or at least they did, in support of this album and Reckoning Night. Um, and then you have The Rest of the Sun Belongs to Me, which is a fantastic number. And this song is to me what Champagne Bath is to many Sonata Arctica fans. The Rest of the Sun Belongs to Me is just a heavily underrated song, and it's another song that grew on me over time from this record. And then the final cut is another underrated song from Sonata Arctica, The Ruins of My Life, which is another great power metal song. I don't think it's quite as good as like Victoria's Secret or The Cage or Abandoned Please, Brainwashed, Exploited, but yeah, The Ruins of My Life is a great underrated little power metal jam, and this is kind of a thing that Sonata Arctica was kind of known for. In this early era of the band, you had Destruction Preventer on Ecliptica and The Power of One from Silence. and then you have Ruins of My Life rather, on Winterheart's Guild. Like, all three of these tracks are very, very strong, longer songs to end off the record. And then you have the bonus track, Draw Me, which is, I mentioned in my Sonata Arctica album ranking, it was one of my favorite tracks from the record. Um, yeah, I mean, it still stands true. I love Draw Me, but again, I think they've made better tracks. Um, so overall, this album is a very good record. I would rate it an 8.5 out of 10. I still think they've made better records, specifically in this classic era of the band, but really, Winterheart's Guild was one of those records where I wanted to like it more. And yeah, I still don't feel like I totally get it, but I do love this record more than I did a year and a half ago. So there's that. I was able to find some more tracks on here. Like, the first three tracks are awesome. The last three tracks are awesome. And Draw Me, of course, being the bonus track, great as well. But everything in the middle, with the exception of Victoria's Secret, is either below average or just average. Like, these are tracks that I probably won't be returning to anytime soon when it comes to the grand scheme of Sonata Arctica. But I can say that Victoria's Secret is definitely one of their best songs, and the first three tracks and the last three tracks and the bonus and Draw Me are all the highlights off this record. So yeah, 8.5 out of 10. It's great. It's a great album, but yeah, I think they've made better records. But we will find that out in future videos. So there you go. So with that said, that concludes this episode of Magic Metal Mondays. Thank you so much for watching, my fellow YouTube divers. This is WaterEye122 signing out, ready to dive into more fun on YouTube. Thanks for watching.